Congratulations, America. Y'all have made the right choice. Welcome to my channel. Feel free, please comment, like, and subscribe. I am so pleased to have Mr. President Donald Trump as the president. I had made a video, probably more than one, like a wish list in regards to the physical altering of really anybody, but any and everybody, right? That wasn't, self-inspired, but especially minors, right? Disabled, mentally impaired, disabled youths, children, okay? And part of my wish list, and I understand that this is controversial, is that it would be illegal in the United States of America for perfectly healthy people who are disabled, people who are incapable of making major medical decisions by themselves, like people who have power of majority over them, people who maybe are in conservatorship, disabled people, very older people, and people who are under the age of 18, to have people who are the ones who are presumed to have power over them. For example, CPS, Child Protective Services, social workers, teachers, psychologists, psychiatrists, school teachers, and parents as well, to purport to them, to tell them and brainwash them that their body has defect and should be altered in some way to achieve a sexual difference. Okay? And I'm even thinking of something else that probably will become a thing. And I'm not trying to, and I'm not a prophet. And not interested in that. But I'm thinking of asexuality. And I'm thinking that if it were not for Mr. President Trump, I am predicting, quite confidently, actually, that the next thing that was going to come up was the lack of sexuality altogether, which has its own problems because the human being can live perhaps even 120 years. When you get rid of every sexual component of the human being, first of all, I'm not a doctor. I do not presume to be a doctor. But there can be other health issues in regards to that, I imagine. And then on a sexual nature, I being celibate for many years now, even then, I have all of my working parts because that is what I should have. That is how God made me. And to deny the sexual aspect of myself would be calling God a liar. While I do not marry, and therefore utilize the sexual component of my nature, I am whole. I do not have to stop being whole to be celibate. Okay? So that comes with many problems, because, and just because you did not see it come to pass, because God is merciful and God is gracious, does not mean that terrible, and I do mean terrible probably, for those of you who study the word, you already know that it's in there, forbidding to marry, right? A doctrine of the devil, of demons, forbidding to marry. An asexual, God didn't make you without a sex. So nonetheless, whether you use the sexual component or not, because certainly I sure hope that a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old is not being modified and then acting in some way. Someone is terribly wrong. It's not the child. I know that much. Someone should be in jail for both things. So I made a wish. So I'll tell you, and before I get into that the next thing that was probably coming down the pike for those of you who would have tolerated, which I thank God that many of you just not. The next thing would be erasing sexuality altogether, which is insane, coming from a celibate woman for many years. I am whole. And every child has the right, every child has a right, every human being has a right to be whole in their body. I lack nothing. But that was probably coming down the pike. And I thank you, upstanding people of America, for refusing to continue to go down that road. Because I'm sure that was what was coming. Only for these asexual people who are no such thing to be terribly marred in the body when they realize that they want the sexual component of their identity back. America, you can rejoice. I believe you completely avoided this pit. So rejoice, America. Because I think that was probably on the way. And the catastrophic thing is that many of these people would have wanted their sexuality back. And can you imagine just nothing? Just being deleted, everything sexual about you being deleted, right? Just erased. The only thing with that is that can't actually be done. Like that's I can't imagine how that can't imagine how that would, the enemy would love to drive people crazy like that. Drive people crazy. To erase an aspect of oneself, try to, down to the from the outward, because of course they probably start with the outward sexual characteristics, and then try to get into the internal chemistry of the thing, to try to truly erase all forms of sexuality. And I'm like, I think it is catastrophic for a nation to make its children eunuchs. That is insane. And I thank you, good American people, for refusing to go down this road, because I think that's where it was going to take you ultimately. You making America's children eunuchs. Now, as a celibate woman, I celebrate, having a sexuality that is completely in Christ. I love, but I'm whole. And I celebrate being whole and complete and having all of my working parts and all of my working chemistry that God gave me. So I thank you, America. Thank you, America, for saving our children. Thank you, Democrats, that decided, you know what, I don't want America's children to be made eunuchs before they even know how to spell that word, what that word even means. It's not right, okay? I'm struggling whether or not to spay and neuter my dogs. And we were going down the path of trying to decide whether or not it should be legal to make all of America's children eunuchs, right? Well, not all of them, but a whole lot of them. And I made a wish list that disabled social workers that are not crazy, fathers, mothers, all across America, all across the world even, would be able to sue and get restitution and monies and compensation for the devastation the catastrophic medical devastation and rape that has been done to their bodies, to their person. For parents who have had their children be alienated, made delinquent, in that the parent is the problem, and for the system to set themselves above the parent and cause a separation between the parent and the child. And anyone who is genuine knows, if it's a truly loving relationship, as a parent-child relationship should be, it is not where the child physically lives, just that, but the relationship aspect as well. And once a system has convinced a child that the parent is nothing but a problem, nothing but someone who gets in the way, the system is entirely inappropriate. And it's always suspicious because the parent typically, not always, because sometimes it could be the system protecting, I said as much, protecting the child from unnecessary medical catastrophic damage done to a healthy whole body, which should be illegal in the United States of America, in a first world nation. It should be very illegal in every medical facility. We need to run them up out of the entire United States of America, y'all. This is demonic. Our children are not eunuchs unless God calls them to that. And that's only a select few. And they will be divinely ready for that purpose. And typically that will be spiritual. And therefore, all of their working body chemistry, as well as their parts, will be spared. Just as I believe Paul or someone wrote in the Bible, that now our circumcision is an inward circumcision. So outward, that is up to you. But the real circumcision is the circumcision of the heart, that we are set apart because we believe in here. We believe in Jesus. So thank you, American, for bringing us closer to this dream. I realize I don't count all my hen's eggs until they're in my apron, my figurative apron, in my figurative kitchen. I don't count them while they're still in her tummy. This has not come to fruition yet. But I know that Mr. President Donald Trump, who I had prayed for in the past, I had been going through my own stuff. And I have not been praying for him as much lately. But I knew that he would handle his situation like a man. And I am genuinely proud of him. I expected nothing less. I was not terribly concerned for him, in that I knew that the Lord was doing great things behind the scenes, and that I had to put him in God's hands anyways. I saw a lot of these things already coming long before they actually took place. I did pray for him. God is good. But, and I thank y'all for praying for Mr. President. I could not be any more proud of him. I'm an old school girl, old world girl. And I believed a man would be a man. I expected nothing less of him. And he gave nothing less. I'm so proud of him. His victory was truly a self-won victory. But nonetheless, I sure hope that it does come to fruition. If any man will do this, it will be him, because he has the boldness to get it done, unlike anybody else. He will keep his word if he can. And so I do hope that this comes to fruition. I hope that it is illegal in the United States of America, and that all peoples who were adversely affected by this medical rape and catastrophic damage done, either chemically or physically, externally to their sexual characteristics of their bodies, be made whole monetarily, since they cannot be made whole once again, physically or chemically. And even with chemical, they should still get the restitution, because as someone who is very sensitive to man-made drugs, I am. It is more than a science, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly a mystery why redheads experience pain differently than others. Why, I don't want to put out misinformation, but I don't want to get a strike, but especially being a singer. But certain nationalities are predisposed or less disposed to certain diseases theoretically, right? I read many different things and many different interests. But nonetheless, I do hope, I know that the enemy would like to see this crash and burn. My faith is not in Mr. President Trump. I just know that he is a real man and he will act as one. I'm never surprised when he does, and I always know that he will. And an aspect of a real man is he will keep his word. And I know he will keep his word if he can. So I'm not worried. I'm not going to lose sleep over this. And whether or not it comes to fruition now, I'm going to always believe for the Lord to make these such medical misdeeds and evils illegal entirely in the United States of America. They have no business. These medical practices alienated many children and parents from each other, and pitted many couples against each other, and made helpless, shackled the hands of many fathers and many mothers with a spouse who was supposed to be a co-parent and a help and a support system, turning them into adversaries, using medical facilities and people who wanted to have an opinion and shout over the voice of the dissenting parent, whether it be the husband or the wife. So many people have had their hands shackled as their children were medically raped. And now I am so glad that we are so close, because there is a man in office, and he is a man of his word. And if he can, he will. And I sure can't wait. I can't wait. Please pray. Please pray. This was my wish. I did not think it would come to pass. But once again, I'm pleasantly surprised, but I'm not surprised that this man is behaving as a man. Okay? So please pray that Mr. President Trump is successful in making this abuse of children expressively, decidedly illegal in our prestigious first world country, the United States of America. Okay? I wanted to talk about also this phenomenon. Many things happen because people struggle. Many people struggle during the holiday season because of lost loved ones, because of having time to think about relationships, about goals, dreams, aspirations. Then seasonal affective disorder, where there's less sunlight and less time to go out, be in the sun, have picnics, take walks, and be physically active, right? There have been people who have gone missing, and a lot of crime, and I believe that the Lord, He absolutely is. While many horrible things are happening, God is still good, and many good things are going to happen. Y'all take heart. So many good things are going to happen, right? But I wanted to talk about a personality a personality that's kind of different, a personality that I believe I have, and I've kind of have a name for it. I've never heard of it addressed before, and I wanted to talk about what I think creates my type of personality, and where it is most likely to, where and how it's most likely to show up, and how you could kind of see whether or not you might love someone who has this personality. They could be a sister, a coworker, a friend, a husband, a wife, okay? But nonetheless, I want to talk about the crasher. Yeah, I have coined my personality type, or at least in this context, as the crasher. Now, typically, I think that this personality, just stop trying to make my video and sound like smart. And you making this, it's less believable because, well, okay, it is what it is. I'm not in a studio. I'm in my house is a studio, right? But nonetheless, I got the cat. Come here, baby. Come here. Come here, Lily. Come here. Come here, Lily. Let me see you. Oh. See Lily. This Lily. Lily is not a crasher. Lily is always Lily. Lily is always Lily. She's purring. Okay, bye, Lily. I'm gonna finish the video, okay? I'm gonna finish the video. Say bye to the people. Hey, bye, people. All right. Okay. So I want to talk about the crasher. I am a crasher. Okay. Never heard of it before, so I had to make up my own. Because I haven't heard of it before, I had to make up my own word to describe myself. So I figured the crasher, because that's what it reminds me of. So I want to make this video because, and I don't presume that anyone that I mention is me. I don't know these people. I'm not even gonna wish that they are crashers. You know, I don't need that. You know, to feel validated, to feel a connection with people, wishing that they have my same personality disorder or whatever. No, okay. I don't know these people. I don't wish that on them, but just sharing just sharing. And if you feel like anything valuable came from it, okay. All right. So, what causes someone potentially to become a crasher? I believe that an adversity can cause someone to become a crasher. And especially if it's a big negative event, or a chronic negative event can become a crasher. And the thing with the chronic is that it has to, sometimes it might be subtle. Okay, I'll give an example. So like, let's say your child has a normal life, really popular, something. I wasn't popular, but let's say really yours was, you like popular, normal life, basketball team, like boom 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 and all that, and go parties. They go to all the parties. And let's say they're like They have friends, but every time they go to a party, they get into a fight and they lose one of their friends. And let's say that this continues, and I'm not trying to be spooky, y'all. I'm not trying to be spooky, and please don't be spooked. I'm not trying to be spooky. Please don't be spooked, but I am Christian. I have to admit, there is the supernatural, but don't get spooked. I know it still may sound kind of scary, like, but nonetheless, I'm just going to keep it really as light as I possibly can, okay? So every time they go to a party, they get into a fight, and they lose one friend. So let's say that this happens from kindergarten to college. So the first couple of times, the first party was in kindergarten. They got into a fight. They lost a friend. The second one was in second grade. They went to a party, got into a fight, lost a friend. The next one was like a couple years later. They're in 5th grade. They go to a party again. They get into another fight and they lose another friend. And now we fast forward. Okay, now at this third time, because people are pretty resilient, and even us crashers, we're not crazy. I don't believe I'm crazy. We're not crazy, but we do have a unfortunate reaction, a unfortunate, deeply embedded subconscious reaction to certain trigger. Okay, and so therefore crashers, right? So at this third time, because people are typically really resilient, okay, but we're not invincible, unfortunately. This third time is the charm. So now, deep in this, the child is young, but still deep in their subconscious now, crasher, okay, right? So they somehow now have it where a party is a trigger, or something around that is a trigger, okay? So now that can spill over into other contexts, because we're like, okay, well, maybe parties aren't for everybody. And frankly, yeah, like especially if you feel like something just never works for you, I would maybe consider avoiding whatever that thing is, you know, if it can be, because a lot of times it's just, I feel like it's just life, right? Part of me feels like Paul may have been a crasher. David may have been a crasher. Okay, and I'll explain why I think this possibly. I think Paul may have been a crasher. I think David may have been a crasher, but it's so rare. Honestly, I don't know. But I think Moses may have been a crasher. Why do I think Paul may have been a crasher? Because of the thorn in his flesh, and I know everybody, we all assign, for those of us who are Bible fanatics, for those of us who are Jesus enthusiasts, we love Jesus. Into it, we all say that our problem is what Paul had. I get it, but I wonder if Paul was a crasher, because he mentioned the thorn in his flesh, and he was not married. And I know that romantic relationships are a trigger for me, and that is where I could see myself catastrophically crashing in a romantic relationship. So that's why I think that Paul may have been a crasher, but Paul never crashed. He never crashed. So we don't have, like with everything else, we don't have any proof that Paul was a crasher. What about David? David killed Uriah. I wonder if David was a crasher. Would it fit with my theory? Yes, it would, because David had his wife stolen. There's people who browse through the Bible, and there are people who are Bible fanatics. That's me. So I took it upon myself. I did the investigational homework. So why do I think David may have been a crasher? Because his wife, it would seem to, it doesn't prove that he was a crasher like me, But it goes with the theory because there was trauma. His wife was taken from him. I believe her name was Michael, by Saul, the king. Her father took her back, I think. I need to read my Bible. I think he took his wife back. He gave her to him, and then he took her back. And then David went back, I think, and got her back some kind of way. I really got to read the Bible, brush up on it. But also, all the times that David's life was in jeopardy. And I'm not talking about with the war. I'm talking about in a very personal way because of his father-in-law, Saul. And it was very close and very personal. And David was like in a state where he was at risk constantly. So he had to keep his head kind of on a swivel because of that. And I believe that trauma laid the groundwork for David crashing when it came to Uriah. And if you notice, it was yet again in the context of a romantic relationship. Okay, so I believe that Paul may have been a crasher. I believe we have more evidence that David could have very well been a crasher. And what about Moses? Moses could have been a crasher. Am I trying to make everybody have my problem? No, like all the men in the Bible have my problem. But no, for real, David might have been a crasher because, Moses, because I did Paul, Paul may have been a crasher, David could have been a crasher, but Moses could have been a crasher because, somebody be like, how could Moses be a crasher? I'm going to tell you how Moses might have been a crasher. So, Moses killed somebody. Okay, Moses excommunicated from life a man that was, I think, beating up a Hebrew or something like that. And Moses excommunicated him from human experience. Okay, he got uninvited from the human experience. He got bounced from planet Earth. Okay, and so therefore Moses may have been a crasher because he never did that before, never did that after, and nothing that you could not see that coming. So I think that and then because he felt bad, kind of, I think he made like some laws where you could kind of like get mercy because I don't even think he understood like what had really just happened because he crashed and you know, now I'm not like no serial killer or nothing like that. I'm just sick. Anyway, awkward. Okay, so hi, baby. Moving on. Okay. So yeah, definitely feel free to buy my music and like and comment. Anywho, so Paul may have been a crasher, David may have been a crasher, and Moses may have been a crasher. And I just explained why all three of them may have been crashers. Do I know that they were crashers? No, I don't know that, but they may have been. Okay, so now we know what causes a crasher. So we know what causes a crasher. So what does crashing look like? Crashing does not always come in a romantic context. So it could, because I remember crashing in an educational context, and I will not get into it. That's very personal, and it don't affect nobody else. But crashing can come in almost any context, okay? But it has to have a trigger. What is the difference between a crasher and a jerk? Okay, there's a distinct difference between the two. A crash can look like, first thing, okay, a jerk typically has had behaviors that are not acceptable classically before, historically, meaning that this is what they do. So you don't have to wonder, oh, my wife keeps cheating, I think she might be a crasher, or my husband always disrespectful, rude, and all that stuff, I think he might be a crasher. Typically, the reason why it's called a crasher is because typically you're driving fine until you're not, okay? That's why it's called crash, right? It's not reckless driving or speeding, or typically you're going okay, and then you're not, and then there's the crash, okay? So the distance between the person who is simply just not behaving well in the context of a coworker relationship, a friendship, someone who is behaving poorly in a marital relationship, and someone who is a true crasher, is the true crasher is genuinely relating to you, and typically they have, if it's a healthy relationship, they have every intent to genuinely relate to you. Everything that you have built together is real and solid, okay? And if you've not done anything, now if you have, I'll even cover that, but if you've not said anything or done anything to deserve it to be personal, meaning like you didn't hit them, you didn't like berate them, or constantly, because I'm not talking about relationship perfection, but just in a healthy relationship, then it is never personal. With someone who is just a jerk, usually it is personal. Usually they really just don't appreciate the relationship. And what you've built possibly is not real, because that has to be both sides, right? Well, that is not the crasher. And that's what makes loving and relating to a crasher risky, rewarding, but very risky at the same time, is because everything you built is real. Everything you built is real, except that the crasher has triggers. The crasher has triggers. And when the crasher is triggered, you have the crash. Okay? Is subconscious, meaning they can't control this aspect of their subconscious. God can heal anything. You will not hear classic psychology and know Jesus or here, but he would need to. It would take a miracle. This is part of who they are. This is how they have adapted to certain things, certain stimuli, certain situations in the past that has become the go-to adaptation. Everything from their mind, it is deeply embedded. It cannot be separated from them unless God Himself did it. From their heartbeat to their dilation of their eyes to the breathing rate, everything. This is their response to the whatever is triggering them. And the unfortunate part, ladies and gentlemen, is many times you don't have to do anything negative to trigger to trigger a crasher. But I will share some things that might be helpful to you, so that if you have a loved one that is a sister or a brother or a coworker or a friend or or maybe even someone you're working with that, like maybe you're counseling or something like that, then you should know more than me, but or like you have someone who you're in love with, or maybe even you want to consider marrying this person, and you wonder if they're a crasher. And I'm going to share with you some things that hopefully might be helpful to you, okay? You can decide whether or not they are or not. So, with the crasher, provided that you have a healthy relationship, it's never personal, and you must not take it personal. Why am I saying that? Because the crash can be anything from, how about this? Because it could be a mini crash, and you could hope that it would be a mini crash, but typically crashers, they live hard, meaning that they love hard, they work hard, they are excellent at many things, and they will not let you down. But when they crash very hard, okay? And it is felt like a earthquake, right? So it could be anything from that they want to improve themselves, so they go on like a retreat or something, and they don't, okay, that's not minor. I'm trying to make it minor. So they want to improve themselves, so maybe they go on a diet and they just abruptly just start eating everything. And you could be confused, right, as to what on the earth is going on here. Right? So that's a mini crash. And frankly, I'm not even really sure if that's, I'm speaking in terms of, because when I think of crashers, typically we do things big. So I'm thinking in most relationships can survive that, and it may not even, if you're not, if y'all are real deep, it may not even reach your radar. The problem with the crasher is, since we do things big, I would less so focus on the many things and more so focus on the potential catastrophics, right? That could emerge from their subconscious personality that just has not awakened yet. It lies dormant, waiting to be triggered, right? Right. So the many people right now, like some people are struggling with missing people. And that is where my focus mostly is, because the crasher can be the type of person, especially when there is no malice, there is nothing but love, and what you built, you built a genuine friendship. You have a genuine marriage. You know that y'all are perfectly fine as co-workers, and she loved her job. He loved the job, okay? So it's nothing you did, but you could inadvertently and really unintentionally trigger them. Typically, I think crashers, we love perfection, but I also don't, hold on, another disclaimer. I don't want to lead y'all on to think that every crasher, well, I think I know more about the crasher than most people because I am a crasher personality, and we are wired different. I don't want to give the illusion that I know everything about your beloved crasher, if you have one. I think that would be wrong to do, okay? I'm almost positive that your crasher could have characteristics that I have not even really looked at yet and have the insight, because they're a different person, even though they are a crasher. So bear that in mind, that they may have many of my characteristics, but there may be some things that are slightly or even maybe drastically different, because they are a different human being, even though they have my base crasher personality, okay? So the crasher, you cannot, if you didn't, not take it personal, and we don't shame, but then most people, loving people, won't, but don't make the mistake, don't make the mistake of shaming, okay? If we do come back, which I don't want to get on here and be like, no, that's the last thing I want to do. Okay. I'm going to say this so tenderly, so mindfully, because I don't want to be reckless with how I talk on here. I just realized what I was saying and realized that maybe I want to say it differently, because this is very serious stuff I'm talking about. And we're talking about people's hearts here, and that's not for play, especially during the holidays, especially with people who are actually missing. So I want to say this. The last thing you want to do is shame someone who is a crasher. There is no, unless you get ahead of that thing, which you'd have to be highly intuitive. I mean highly. We could make expert spies if that's what we were, which we're not. Because we can hide that part of our personality for years and years and years and years, okay? Until that moment comes where we are triggered by something and then we crash out, okay? So you don't want to shame, if you don't want to shame the crasher, because you're shaming them for something they literally have no control over, okay? Don't want to shame the crasher. You won't actually, to go in the opposite direction without being weird, frankly. If you have, now, I feel bad because, like I said, I feel bad because I'm not in a relationship, and I don't want to make myself something I'm not, like a relationship guru. I'm just speaking in terms of knowing my crasher personality. You might want to reinforce that perfection is something that you're not expecting, because as a crasher, I crash out sometimes when perfection is not attainable. We deduce that perfection is not attainable, and there ain't no hope for perfection, and there is no other solution but to crash. That is how we be thinking, okay? So therefore, what you, and here's the thing, you need to free yourself. Jesus is freedom. Jesus is freedom. He doesn't want you under bondage. And trust me, if you have a loving relationship with a crasher, the last thing they want you to do is lose your freedom to their personality. So you're free, right? But in as much as you feel comfortable, the Lord leads you. Like, you can, without being weird, like, not frame your relationship based upon perfection. Because even without saying it, that's where the crasher's mind is always headed. And the more they know that that is not what you are expecting, while you appreciate their hard work, their effort, and you appreciate their continual reliability and dedication, if they were to be less than perfect, if they were not to get that promotion, if they were to not make that grade, if they were to not, I don't know, if they were supposed to save like for vacation or something, and they were going to put like 53% or 60% to the vacation or something, the more they know that, this is so awesome. I love how you are always just so there. You are just always so plugged in. You're at every event. You're for the babies. You are just killing it. You always bake, baby. You always bake cookies. You always do this and that. But I know that if ever you can't do something, I will love you just the same, And I'm like, and I feel like that would help. And over time, though, right? Because as the crasher continues to do better and better, they got to do even better and better and better, and then that's gonna get harder and harder and harder. And then it's that, and that's why it looks so crazy, like out of the blue, because you're experiencing the same life, but you're experiencing a different life because the crasher is seeing things differently than normal people. Because you're like, how long can I keep this up? How long can I keep going to every event, baking these cookies? How long can I do this? Until they crash out. So, I mean, hey, you don't gotta listen. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to keep people around, and I'm just trying to keep relationships together. But for anyone who is a crasher, like, if you feel like, you know, go just moving forward, you're a single lady, you're a single guy, right? And you're like, if I fall in love with a crasher, what do I do? Or you are a parent, right? You're a parent, and you know, if my child becomes a crasher, right? And first, no parent wants to call their child a crasher. So understand that you do not, and you, I completely don't use terms on my babies. So if you refuse, you don't have to use a term on anybody, including, and I love the term. I don't mind calling myself a crasher, but in many cases, I completely avoid it because terminology can get in the way so much, right? And reinforce the negative, right? You know? So if you want to take it as just a reference point for informational purposes only, great, but not use it pertaining to your loved one, that is just fine. I totally rock with that, you know? But yeah, like, you don't have to adopt that, like, oh, the crasher, you know what I'm saying? There go to, you don't have to do that, right? But nonetheless, right? If just now you want, I feel comfortable. I love, like, excellence and hard work and dedication and reliability and trustworthiness. I love these aspects about my character. I love these aspirations and these expectations that I have for myself. But in any context, you know, where that is the only option, and in some contexts that's perfectly healthy, right? Just like education, you either get the A or you don't, you know what I'm saying? But if it's in any other context where it could be, you know, like in a relational context, you may want to make it, like, reinforce that, you know, in life few things are absolutely perfect. And so, like, you just want it, that's the type of thing, because it is subconscious, meaning that it's something that they cannot control. It's something that's triggered, and they may always see things differently than you do. So no matter how many times you know that perfection is unattainable, that's still, you can't control how they think. But in a healthy relationship, they will always hear, like, especially if you say it, like, and it's genuine, that, you know, the perfection is what we have and built together. This is the perfection, right? Versus, you know, grade marks that if you miss it, then it's huge, so huge that you're like, the crasher is like, I guess I need to fire myself. I can't do this anymore. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, but I would say, as a Christian woman, that I would be praying. First of all, like, I would say, don't marry a crasher, but I'm not going to tell you that. It doesn't say anything like that in the Bible. What I will say is, if I was married, or if I was considering marriage, which I'm not, I would be praying, and I certainly would be praying for that person, and that would cover kind of that aspect, because you don't know what is lying dormant in the person that you're, if anything, that in the person that you're marrying or considering to marry. But God does. But He does. So, if they are a crasher and you are praying, that can only help you. That will only help you. And you don't wait until, and this video, I understand it, you know, but hopefully someone, at least one person, finds this helpful. You don't wait until someone you love crashes. You pray for your father, your mother, your sister, your brother, your coworkers. You continuously pray for them. You don't know typically, because crashers are among you, and you typically cannot point them out. They perform well. They live to be excellent and awesome, and try to be reliable and dedicated. But they are an example of the grace and love of God, because their struggle is different than yours and other normal people, because by the grace of God, you can accept more easily when you make a mistake than they can, than I can. Okay? So, and that is the grace of God that you probably haven't even thought about. But is God less gracious to us? No. He inspires us. He shows his love through us. We work like dogs, and we love it. We love to perform. We love to see someone smile because of something we have done. We love to be dedicated. We love to make a goal and achieve it. We love to meet and exceed other people's expectations. We thrive off of that. But because typically something comes with too much is given, much is required, a thorn in the flesh. The caveat, the takeaway from that though, is typically when we fail in that area, we typically crash. Right? So because you don't know whether you're, well, some of you, I don't want to be presumptuous, but some of you don't. You genuinely don't. You don't know that your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your coworker, your wife, your husband is a crasher. You could swear that they're not, because they have performed well year after year after year. Nonetheless, it is wise to pray. The Bible tells us to pray. Why? God knows them better than you do. And if there is that aspect lying dormant in them, he already knows that. And he is the one you pray to, because if that is lying dormant in them, he can get to them before they crash. And if they do crash, he can bring them back to you. Right? He's the one that's able to bring, because and prayer can save many a marriage, because a crasher will leave if they feel like they cannot be the excellent wife, the excellent husband, if they feel like they can no longer perform at their job to the standard that they feel like they should, if they feel like they can't meet the grade or meet the bar, they will self-fire, they will crash. But if you are praying for them, the Lord can bring them back to you miraculously. It would be a miracle. Crashing is very serious, and it's not. And I'm just saying that I am going to, now that I think about it, take my own advice and pray for all loved ones, right? Because I don't know who might. Now, I feel like in my family, I'm the only crasher. Oh, yeah, like I meet all the criteria for being a crasher. Right? All of it. Okay? I'm classic crasher personality. But nonetheless, just in case, it's still wise for me, just in case I'm not the only one, it's wise for me to pray for all of my beloved family members. Because how would I know? How would I know? Usually I'm highly intuitive. I really do believe I'm the only one. But I'm not gonna put my faith in my confidence in what I know, in my intuition. I'm gonna pray, just in case someone else in my family is a crasher, right? I don't want them to go missing or something like that because they've crashed. So I'm gonna pray. And I feel like it might be a good idea for all of us to pray. for our loved ones. Pray for them that, you know, they pray the Lord over them, and pray. I think we all tend to forget that the Lord is with our loved ones in the bathroom. Jesus is with our loved ones at the airport. Jesus is with your loved one at school. Jesus is with your loved one when they're on the metro, on the bus. Jesus is with your loved one all the time when you are there. And he's the only one, if they are in a crash or about to crash, he's the only one that can bring them back to you. Okay? So I think it's a great idea to pray to Jesus, the only one who can bring a crasher back, the only one that can prevent a crash, because he is there. He's omniscient and he's omnipotent. And these are two things that the human being does not possess. And even if you did, this is not how you want to love a crasher, because then you strip away all of their autonomy. And no one who truly loves someone wants to do that. So even if they're your child. So rather than even attempt to do such a thing, because none of us would, we want to pray for our children, pray for our family members, and pray for our spouses, for those of us who have our spouses, or anyone who you're thinking about marrying. And let the rest be in God's hands. And I think, frankly, as someone who's not married, but if I had someone that I was married to, but I did want to divulge that I'm a crasher, but I wanted to give them some good advice, what do I think people who are considering marrying or actually are married to and love a crasher should do? It's going to maybe blow your mind, because you probably think that I was going to say something else. But whatever your purpose is in life that God has given you, whatever brings you godly joy, whatever fulfills you in a way that God glorifies God, I would do that. I would never stop doing that. Why do I suggest that? Because the crasher, like the whole thing about the crash, is completely just, you know, deleting everything and moving on in a way. And while it seems counterintuitive, like, well, if that's counterintuitive, so you're saying that my loved one could completely avoid me or just disappear on purpose, but I should keep living. Oh my goodness, that was perfectly timed. It's so awesome. My loved ones, and definitely hug crashers, provided it's the right context, right? If it's your coworker or something, you know, something more appropriate, right? Like, hey, great job, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it's a family member, go ahead, like, hug, you know what I'm saying? Right? But it may seem counterintuitive. So you're saying, on the one hand, that the crasher could leave me at any moment if they're triggered right by the right trigger subconsciously. But you're saying that I should live my best life. Well, yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but absolutely, right? Because here's the thing. I personally feel like it's less pressure on the crasher. It's less pressure on the crasher, and you would need, like, frankly, you would need to be happy. Just being real. You need to be happy. You can't share something that you don't have. And God forbid the crasher ever does, then you want to be a happy, you want to be a happy person. You want to be a joyful person. Just in case that ever happened, then it's not like you've been pouring yourself out constantly. That's just not healthy, right? So, yes, as a crasher, live your best life, okay? In Jesus, live your best life, coming from the mouth of a genuine, bona fide, certified crasher, okay? Live your best life, do your purpose, do the things that bring you joy. Take the babies out. If that's what makes you, if you really love spending time camping with your sons, going hunting with your boys, do that. But my wife is a crasher, and she may always be a crasher, But you will have, what does that have to do with your joy? Right? I know what I'm saying is tough. What I'm saying is tough. But do all the things that are good and awesome and wonderful and wholesome that make you happy. Live your life. Live your best life. Keep your joy. The crasher is not necessarily, when they crash, they are not happy. Like, let's just be, they're not happy in that state. That's a kind of chaotic state. Crashers don't like chaos. But it's a chaotic state, and they're trying to regroup, okay? And you praying that they don't crash, but if they do crash, they regroup and come back home, you know what I'm saying? Or come back to work, you know? It's all good, you know? That's it. But, yes, right? Because, and if you have that store, like if you have that reserve inside yourself, you will be better prepared to deal with someone like a crasher if you have a genuine crasher, versus if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not having fun, if you're not going out camping with your boys and you know, hunting with your boys, and if you're not, you know, going to your coworker events and stuff, and you know, just doing great at your job, focusing on your promotion and stuff like that, you know, if it's your coworker or something, or a friendship, like if going to events with other friends, going to events alone. But it's harder to say that. Like, if someone is truly your everything and you feel slighted, because they're your everything, it's going to be harder to draw them, you know, because we don't want to be forceful. It's going to be harder to naturally attract them and draw them back into your sphere. Because people are typically like really, you know, really attracted to happy people. So if you don't have that, not like we don't, like, you know, not like we're pricks, but I'm just saying, like, it's always, we already feel like we let you down or something. So we're kind of like that. It's really not good waters, not good territory for either party. But, and where's the lie? You're in a way better position if you're living an awesome life. And if you are glorifying God, fulfilling your purpose, enjoying, you know, your job, your singleness, if you're friends and stuff, your other friends, enjoying your hobbies, searching the Lord, enjoying the Lord, going to church, you know, and if you're married, if you are enjoying the babies, right? Because every parent can have their own personal relationship with the babies, right? So you're going to be in a way better position than that person who only has fun like when they're around or something like that. You're going to be in a way better position than them, because, you know what, and God forbid, what if they don't come back, you know what I'm saying? And I say that tenderly, and then I'm about to stop this soon. It's over an hour. But what if then you will be well on your way. You'll be better prepared than the person who they're waiting for them to come back. And that seems so tragic, and it seems so beautiful. Some people have such beautiful hearts, but don't do that. Don't do it. And I know I can't make you have fun. I can't force y'all to have fun. But don't wait on nobody to have fun. That is so beautiful. I've had I know of some people, like, but don't do that. Don't do that. Some of y'all are just built for marriage. You're made for marriage. You have fun by yourself. It's okay to have fun by yourself. I know I can't make you. I'm gonna stop trying, but I insist that, even though I can't force you to, I insist that you have your fun. Just in case you're with a crasher, understand that it's never personal. And yes, pray. Prayer can change things, and then prayer can also make a crasher come back, right? So, and God is good. But is there anything else I want to say in regards to this? Inadvertently, okay, triggers. Crasher triggers. Typically, if I would encourage people to pray and be, I was going to say intuitive, but really it comes down to prayer, right? And discernment. If we express that we are not able to do something more, I would say more than twice, I would say leave it alone. If you don't have to take my advice, you do not have to take my advice, but I think you should, because first of all, we don't like saying that. And I'm thinking for a man that is a crasher, that may be 10 times, tenfold. I'm not a man, and I'm a crasher personality. And I can't imagine if it was 10 times worse. So if he or she says that I'm not able to do this, and they say it more than once, I personally, provided that's important, that relationship is important to me, I'm going to leave whatever that is alone. Because what will happen is, okay, let's say you're with a crasher. Oh yeah, they're a crasher. And you don't know it, but they are. And you have gone over something, and they have told you about like 10 times that this is something that they're not able to do. They've tried. She went on that same diet. She tried to homeschool the baby. She really doesn't feel comfortable doing it, or something like that. Or even though I really think she should try harder, but nonetheless, or let's say that he wants to move to China. Or you want to move to China. And he's saying that he really cannot find the same level of employment in that location of the world, and that he can make twice as much or even 3 times as much where he currently is. And he's a crasher, and he said that, like, y'all been talking about this all summer long. Thank God that most people, so no one gets scared, like, most people are not crashers. But for those of you who are with a crasher, here's what's happening, because I know how they think, because I am one. You may think you're out the woods because this is an argument that you've had like 50 times, right? They're on autopilot, and it is going to happen, okay? One of the things that I feel is not nice, one of the good reasons why I'm not married, is because I feel like this generation is just not nice to each other. People get in relationships, and then everybody has their expectations, but what if someone can't meet your expectations? Then what? And to constantly bring something up, and that person cannot measure up to what you're asking of them, I feel it's just mean, right? And this person for some people, they are with somebody that has already left them. They just are not walking in the reality of it yet, but they will be, right? Like it's. Now, one might be like, well, that seems like a jerk or just stress or something like that. Like, I would kind of, no, they're not a jerk. It's not a jerk. It's subconscious. If this is a true crasher, first of all, 52 times arguing about the same thing all summer long, for a crasher with a trigger, okay, that is a saint, okay, which crashers can sometimes tend to be a saint, perfectionist personality. I should call it like perfectionist personality disorder. Right. So you're arguing about the same thing that the crasher can't do all summer long, which had to have been an awful summer for the crasher. Okay. So you're like wondering like if all the stuff I'm talking about is just whack because you always argue with your crasher. You've been arguing all summer long with your crasher and they're still with you. Okay, so I must not know what I'm talking about. Okay, yeah, but they're going to leave. Understand that unequivocally they gone. It's just a matter of when, right? And it's not self-conscious. It's not, oh, it's premeditated. I'm gonna go ahead and tell him now. Like, no, you could do that if you want to. It's just not helping, because what's happening is, right, somehow, some way, I don't see myself going through that like all summer long, especially when summer is typically associated with so much fun. I don't see myself arguing about anything all summer long with nobody. But okay, so you're with a crasher, and okay, so all these things, she don't know what she's talking about. I argue with my crasher all the time about the same thing, and he or she can't do it or won't, and therefore, what she talking about is null and void. No, what happens is, unfortunately, right, that it's just like a snap, and one day they go for work, they won't be coming back. It is really like that catastrophic. And I can't imagine now. I thank God that most people probably not like that person who would continue with all the information, all the good information. Why would you continue to do the same thing if you if you know better? Most people probably are not like that. Thank God y'all are not like that. Okay, to keep triggering us. But at the same difference, okay, right? Understand that is the great risk there. So we don't want to do that. We want to be nice to each other. Like I said twice that I'm not able to save up like $2,000 to put to this vacation. I said twice that I was not accepted for the promotion. Okay, I said twice that I tried to do this aspect of this project, but I'm not able to do it to the level that I feel would be exemplary of the company. And I've said that twice, and coming from the crasher, like, it's either accept the feedback or just expect me to walk. Like, yeah, prepare for one or the other, right? So, yeah. And so when I see people and they are so sad, especially when dealing with a crasher, and they're so sad and they don't understand what's happening and they don't understand what's going on, and they're wondering if it's them, like if they are not loved or not appreciated, or if maybe there was no value found in it. And when it's a crasher, like, no. Now, if you're the person who is constantly, like, purposely triggering them, like, I'm not even sure if I want to address y'all, because y'all are negative. That is so negative. Why would you do that on purpose? I'm mostly addressing the people who have no idea why this is happening, right? Right? Like, I can imagine if you've been arguing all summer, you should know something might happen. Like, you probably don't need me if you've been... That's it. So, but yes, when we now, real, okay, this is so long. Humiliation rituals. Like, what? Like, humiliation rituals, y'all. If y'all feel so led, pray for humiliation rituals. If you feel led, that the Lord will protect people from inadvertent, for pits that are laid for them potentially to humiliate, distress, and to destroy their hope. If you feel so led, beautiful people, pray for one another that when you wake up in the morning, you will not have a day of devastation, and pray that your neighbor does not have a day of devastation. That and the worst kind of devastation, beloveds, is the devastation that no one else sees, right? the email, the text message, the quick 5-minute phone call from the lover, husband, wife, boss. But nonetheless, that's the worst kind, because like we forget sometimes that like when we pass people, we have absolutely no idea what they might be going through. And that is why I'm so glad that I'm a Christian old world woman who was taught that, for the most part, it's either you be nice or you don't say or do anything, right? And at 42, I still live by that. I'm not gonna say, like, if I can't say something nice, I won't say anything at all, right? And I'm definitely not gonna just be uncharacteristically rude or sharp and chide with anyone for no reason, right? So you don't know what email they got. It's so silent, and can you imagine how lonely that is? We don't know when someone is glancing down at their phone. You don't know what they're looking at. I mean, we all presume when you see your neighbor looking at their phone that there they are on TikTok, and they might be. But they could be getting like the most devastating text message, the most devastating. And that's not to say, but I like how God is like, regard people more highly than yourself. And you know what will happen when you do that? When I do that, I will be like, well, you know what? Let me be so tender with this person, because I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know what kind of day, what kind of morning they have, what kind of evening, what kind of home they're going back to. They may not have. You may see someone dressed beautifully, and they could be homeless. It would blow your mind what's happening in the lives of one another. And frankly, if we all just got in a room and said like our day to each other and hid nothing, we would probably all have our minds blown. Like, what? You're homeless? Dressed like that? You look so nice. Well, I'm going to church. This is my one outfit that someone gave me so I could go to church. Or like, wow, so you're coming out of a abuse relationship, and this woman is like, glowing with like a new pregnancy, a new husband, but like her past was, horrible. Or like, a guy is like, I'm on my 5th interview and I'm like 30 minutes late, and I don't know if I can, whether or not I should even go in there. And who in that room would tell him, don't even go? I know I wouldn't. I'm like, go up in there. You go up in there, and you go up in there confidently if they're willing to see you. And I hope you get the job. But if you knew, we pass each other every day, and the sad part is, we assume everyone's having a great day. We assume that everyone is having a good life, or even an okay life. We assume that we're all safe. We assume that all of our children are healthy. All of our loved ones are healthy. Why would you assume such a thing? That's why the Bible says to regard one another more highly, because you don't even know what someone is going through. There's no way, and He doesn't expect you to. But the one thing that He asks us to do is be nice to each other, because it helps so much. And I know for me as a crasher, right, that it always helps when I have a great day, because you know what happens when a crasher has the worst day ever? They leave something or someone behind, period. And so you don't want that. Right. So I hope that, this video is helpful at all. And feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I pray that none of y'all are crashers like me. And if you are, I hope that you are in a loving context, have a healthy, many people can't control their work environment, but we can even pray about that, okay? I'll pray for y'all's work environments, that they improve, get better, right? Because it's work, it's constant, it's a lot. So I'm gonna pray for your work environments. I'll praying for like your friendships and stuff like that, because we don't need all of us going missing. Like all okay, crashes are a different group of people, so thankfully we are rare. But we are out here among normal people. And it's good for all of the crashers to settle into your spot, wherever spot that is, and stay there, and don't ditch it. Don't go. Don't mission abort. Okay, don't abort mission. Don't do that. And I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be praying that the Lord help me to and so far so good. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I said so far so good. What I meant to say, like, out of relation. Well, okay, that is what I meant to say. When I'm not in a relationship, I tend to do very well. Okay. Other thing is education, right? But I think for my own sanity, maybe I just leave higher mathematics as engineers, computer technician and stuff. Maybe I leave that alone. That's it. If I leave that alone, maybe it'll leave me alone, okay? Because as a crasher, it's just not good for my psyche. Is it? So I'm gonna go, because I feel like I'm kind of like going on now, but I'm gonna go. And I'm sorry for that look that came on my face. I just noticed something that was a little bit irritating to me, but it has nothing to do with this video or anyone that may see this video, right? Just found something that was really irritating, but completely not related, okay, to the video.
Did he get to me?